Okie dokie. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the City of Groton Committee of the Whole for Monday, June 27th, 2016. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Present are Mayor Marion Galbraith, Deputy Mayor Keith Hedrick, Councilors Andrew Ovento, Joe Rust, Stephen Sheffield, Conrad Heath, Finance Director Ron Newhouse, Pro Deborah Patrick, excused is Councilor Lawrence Garrish.
Thank you very much. And the first thing on our agenda tonight is the audit presentation. Scott, you're first. And this CAFR is online for anybody in the audience who wishes to see this.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Scott Bassett. I'm a partner with RSM, and we conducted the audit for the City of Groton. Actually, for the fiscal year, June 30th, 2015, we usually come in March. I guess we just missed schedules or whatever, so we're reporting tonight on those results. Here in the next month or so, we'll be starting the 2016 audit, but Ron and I thought it would be just to go through those CAFRs, just explain some of the events that happened for the year in 2015. Biggest thing, what we're hired to do is to conduct our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and make sure the statements are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. From those procedures, we give an opinion on the financial statements stating whether they're materially correct. We issued a clean, unmodified opinion on the city's CAFR this year. The CAFR, the financial statements include the city's general fund, obviously the electrical fund, water and sewer, and the smaller funds that make up your various funds within the city. It is a pretty large booklet. The city does prepare a CAFR. A CAFR is something, there's really 5 parts to the CAFR, and the first part being the transmittal letter, and the last part being the 10-year information. Isn't required. The finance part puts that together for useful information to any of the tax holders and the stakeholders who are within the city. So I think that I applaud the city for taking the extra time to do that. So with that, I can go through some of the financial highlights for you with the booklet, and I'll try to walk you through some of the things and so just some interesting things that I saw as we go through that. So on page, probably as you go into the document, there's page 1, which is probably 10 pages in actually. This is our opinion. So basically, this is the only thing we really, as your audit firm, own in the financial statement. The rest of the statement is something that is prepared by management and Ron's staff. We opine on that. This is our opinion stating that we gave a clean, unmodified opinion on the financial statements as a whole. In the current year, there was a new accounting standard that had to be adopted by all municipalities here across the country, the state of Connecticut. And that was the adoption of a new accounting standard that has to do with pensions. One thing why we're talking about pensions, that's something within the municipal arena is getting a lot of talk as you read around, you go about the country about how they're funded, unfunded liabilities out there. Well, the city's financial statements pension plan is very, very well funded. The city is about 99% funded, and under that measurement, I think it's key to know that that's as of June 30th, 2015. So what they did for the city is they rolled the fair value of the investments to pay that liability. So at that point in time, your actuaries measured the liability, the fair value of the investments, and under that criteria, you were 99% funded, which is very, very high. I think the national average is somewhere around 70, and then other communities are much worse than that. So I applaud you for having the discipline to keep funding that at the actuary required contributions and keeping that level high. As Ron and management goes to the rating agencies, obviously that's something they're looking at. That's something they want to see the funding, what the future cost is. So some discipline there. I think that's probably the key as this new standard that came about. Turning to the next 5 or 6 pages, and out of this document is probably 150 pages, and the city, Ron puts together what is a management discussion and analysis. And this really summarizes the financial highlights within the city for the year. And actually, these are some of the things as I go through the whole booklet, really are all here in the 6 or 7 pages. So as you pull the cap together, my advice is to read this management discussion and analysis, because it's a great summary of what happened, and the details are all in the back. But this is really kind of puts everything, what happened, financial highlights of the city, and some other needed information. So what I am going to do is I'm going to walk you through the document. I'm turning to page 13. So page 13 presents the net position under the full accrual basis of accounting. The governmental activities, the last number on bottom of the page, had total net position of $30 million, meaning your total assets exceeded your liabilities by $30 million for your governmental activities. Now what does that mean? Where does that number come from? It's all your infrastructure assets outside of the water and electrical that the city owns, and cash on hand and things of that nature. So $30 million. Your business type activities, which are your enterprise type activities, water and sewer, which will be a breakout of those a little bit later on in the report, had a net position of $38 million. So overall, within the city, the primary government had a net position of $68 million for the current year. Turn to page 14. Again, on the full accrual basis, small increase, $177,000 increase in your governmental activities, and almost a $7 million increase in your business type activities for the year, giving us that $30 million, that $38 million that we spoke of. In the Bosworth Light and Power had a net position of $7.7 million, which is an investment, obviously, that the city owns and is recorded here. Turning to the next page 15, from a budgetary standpoint, this is the fund, the general fund, or the main operating fund within the city that you talk about how the budget is passed. And the key number there is the unassigned fund balance of $2.7 million. That $2.7 million represents about 16.5% of your general fund expenditures. As I was getting ready for the meeting, one thing I did know from 14 and 15, there's been a decrease in that unassigned fund balance of approximately $1 million, and you had another use there. So what I would say is to watch that. What you'll hear measurements of fund balance as a percentage of expenditures and operating transfers out, and you'll hear anything between 5 and 15%. But the smaller the entity, the larger that percentage should be. So I know it's something that you're talking about, but as I compared, that was something that stuck out for me within the general fund over the last couple of years that we've been here. So I just have to note that. Turning to page 16, there was, as I mentioned, there was a decrease, third number from the bottom, a decrease in your fund balance of about $700,000 from 2014. And your non-major funds had a decrease. Those are probably planned because those are our rolling funds, depending on when money comes in and out, based on capital projects and things. But the bottom number really is the one I know you spend a lot of time with, and so I'll just keep an eye on that over the next year or two. Page 17 is just a reconciliation, and page 18 and 19 is the statement of net position for your electric and water funds. As I mentioned, each of those funds, total net position was $38 million. The electric is 8.4, and the water is 1.8. I know with the electric a few years ago, we had that big write-off, and that deficit number was a lot bigger back then, so we are knocking that down. I would expect you to turn the corner, and that should be in a positive position, I would think, at the end of 2016. Results of operation, turning to page 20. The electric had a change in that position of $5.4 million, and the water department had a change in that position of 1.5. And your internal service fund continues to be well funded. So a couple of things there I'll talk about. When you go to the rating agencies and they're rating your bonds, obviously they're taking in the city as a whole. So they try to look at your reserves. So I talked about fund balance, obviously that range of 16.5 where you were at. They're looking at the ability to pay down debt within your enterprise funds. And then also with your internal service fund, which is you retain some risk there as you self-insure for some health benefits. So you want to keep an eye on that too. So in my opinion, the internal service fund is not overly overfunded. I think it's in a strong position. And from the general fund side, look at the fund balance as you appropriate the fund balance in 2000. The year that we're in, I think it was about 700,000. I think that you appropriated.
650 or
Yeah.
something.
So that's we've accounted for that. So in 17, I'm not sure where you're at as far as the anticipated budget.
We anticipated using 400, but that was based on last year's contingency number, and we kind of had
Great.
a plan, but there was no plan for the 17 budget to actually use.
Oh, good. Okay, good. So I think obviously you're ahead of that. So we did talk about, the last couple of years about cash flow, when we talked about just the bonds that the electric company was absorbing in those principal payments. And you can see there on page 21 that the electric company actually had a positive cash flow this year of $7 million. And the water department had a decrease in its cash flow of 1.7. But again, I think pretty much as we talked about what would happen as with some of those bonds and things. So again, I think everything remains strong and sound from a financial position standpoint. I think the bigger page is going to page 23. We talked about your pension plans and the funding of your pension plans. The city had about $78 million held in trust to pay benefits to future retirees. And if you measure that against what the future liability, they break about even. So you do have about that there is $78 million within a pension trust fund that is managed. And the results of operations for the 2015 year, you had total investment income of 1.6. But I would say that your change in fair value for the year into 2015, you had a smaller decrease than what I've seen throughout the state. So I believe that the management of the funds was prudent because there were some big swings. If you remember, in 2014 there was a big change in fair value as of June 30, 2014. So I think you're hitting your marks. What the actuaries will do is as they develop their estimates, they use things like rate of return and things of that nature to estimate what that liability would be. What we do as your external auditors, we have our own actuaries take a look at that, and they talk just to make sure that the assumptions aren't too aggressive and that they're within the benchmark. So a lot is done with pensions, as you can imagine, both on the asset side, which is at $78 million, but also on the liability side, they calculate that estimate. So a lot of time is spent there because they are big numbers if you think about it, and projecting those that does take a lot of time. The rest of the statements are really the notes to the statements. I really talked about the things that I wanted to talk about within the body of the statement. We received very little federal state grants in the 2015 year. And we did have 2 small management comments in the current year. One, we talked about pensions. We pull a sample of retirees and the calculation of benefits to make sure the withholdings are correct and everything. We found a small error in one of the items that we sampled, so we just brought that to your attention. And the last comment that we had, capital assets. As you know, we talked about all the capital assets. So you take the detail of that and you roll forward, and we had found a couple items that didn't match appropriately, nothing that we consider a material weakness or a significant deficiency. Something to take a look at and to keep your eye on. The overall condition of the books and records were very good. We were able to pull everything together. Very few audit adjustments were made in the current year. So, and when I talk about that, that's always important because the information that you get on a monthly basis from Ryan and staff, you can take a lot of confidence that that's accurate. If we're not coming in as your external auditors and making a ton of adjusting entries, then the information that you're getting on a monthly basis is accurate. So I'm sure Ron and the staff work very hard to get that information to you. So that's the one. If we were talk about these conditions, we would bring those weaknesses to you. But again, everything was put together very nicely by Ron and the staff. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions regarding the audit or the financial results.
Questions for the auditor? Yes, Andy.
I'm just wondering.
Excuse me, Counselor Ilvento.
It's okay. If you could give us like kind of the general statement for everybody. You know, if someone were to ask us a question, because not all of us are well versed and find this to be, you know, easy to read, that general statement for the public about the status of the
there's a
city.
couple of things that you look at when you look at a city capper. You look at the condition of the fund balance, okay? The fund balance at the end of June 30, 2015, taking into account the amount that you're going to use, that you were using was 16.5%. Very strong, but again, we used about $1 million of that over the last couple of years, so you want to take a look at that. I think, so I'd say that's strong. It's wrong, but to the rate agencies, they look at that, but strong would say, hey, to just keep an eye on that. Obviously, the funding of the pension plan being at 99%, very, very strong. One of the higher ratios that I've seen throughout the state of Connecticut. So I would say that the city in itself, when you look at the electrical, water, general fund, the condition of the pension fund, fiscally is on the right path, is strong. No red flags are there, other than the caution to look at the general fund, keep an eye on the general fund balance. But no, I believe that with only the two small management comments, looking at your fund balance and how things are, I think, very good.
Okay. And just one other, that $1 million, what was in the general fund that was kind of standing out? What was that for?
So we've used that in the budget.
That was in the budget. That's what I thought. I just wanted to check. So that was.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So to say, oh, did you miss a revenue estimate? No, you had a plan use of that
Right.
fund balance.
That's what I was assuming, because I know we had to move things around when things were cut, but I just wanted to make it clear that that's what that was being used
That's a
for.
great question.
And I believe in those 2 budget years, the planned use was like 1.4
Yeah.
million. I think it was like 750 or somewhere in that area, so those 2 years. So
Yeah.
we had even came in under what we had planned for.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions? No other questions? Well, thank you for coming
you.
down.
Thank
Hope
you.
to see you soon, I'm sure.
We'll be seeing you.
Thank you.
Probably within another month. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the fiscal year 17 Economic Development Commission budget. Turn that to you.
Can I actually turn that to Barbara?
You certainly may.
Would be able to
Barbara, would you
explain
mind coming up? It's his birthday, be nice.
Seat's hot, so. I feel like it's a hot seat.
So everybody has a copy of the budget. And maybe you could review for us what this means in terms of, so these are the requests that the Economic Development Commission has for the 2016-2017 fiscal year. There is currently money in a fund for economic development, and they have used some of it for this year, and they have encumbered some of it for this year, which means that there is a reserve balance in there. This would be, so we would be, the question to you would be, and we've talked about this during the budget season, is funding the remainder, the difference between what they would like to budget for and what's in the reserve account now, from our Community Development and Beautification Fund. Do you want to talk a little bit about what it is they want to do during this year?
Yeah, the Economic Development Commission has divvied up its tasks, much like the CEDC did before them, into subcommittees. And each subcommittee has different responsibilities leading towards sustainable economic development. That's their goal. So each of those groups got together and developed a budget for some of the tasks they see their committees going through for next year. And they're not, it's not a large amount of money. There's some basic operating services, telephone, postage, things like that. I've been absorbing that in my budget, but I am now running dangerously over, and so I have to, it would be good for them to have their own source of funding. And there's some professional development, and they would like to be able to join certain groups like CIRCA and CIRC, which is the Economic Development arm of the state of Connecticut. So they want to join some of those groups and entities and take advantage of those benefits. Then there's some money in there for promotion for new businesses. As a new business opens, I know the chamber does kind of a ribbon cutting, but we would like to do something on behalf of the city of Groton to welcome people to the community, whether they be expanding their businesses, their existing businesses, or opening a new one. They also want to be able to go to a chamber event, have a table at a fair, or attend some kind of chamber workshop. So there's a minimum amount of money in there for that. And they would like to continue to do surveys because they believe that surveys give the group a valuable input as to how people found doing business in the city of Groton. And based on that input, they would like to recommend changes through to whatever entity it is that might impact new businesses coming in, whether it's the Planning and Zoning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, or the City Council. And the biggest expense is $30,000. I've been staffing the committee, but I do have kind of a full-time job with the Planning and Zoning Commission. And as the work of the EDC ramps up and they begin to get into specific programs, such as a loan program for facade improvements or some rental subsidy programs, there's a lot of things that they've been considering and mulling over. As those things happen, somebody's going to have to develop policies and procedures to do that and actually run those programs, and that's a full-time job in and of itself. So the idea was always to staff the EDC. The first year, they'd like to staff it with just a part-time person to see, because they're not ready for a full-time person. There's not enough work for a full-time person at this point. So what they'd like to do is get their feet under them, get some professional assistance and staffing level, and then move on from there. So that's the largest amount, and that would, again, would be a part-time person with the basic benefits that you would have to provide for them.
Questions for Barbara? Yes.
So Barbara, if this person were to be hired, they would work under you, I would assume?
Probably not. They could, but I don't think that has been decided. I think at this point it was spec'd out, if you will, and discussed that they would come under the mayor.
Okay. So kind of more like the summer in the city point person, where they can kind of...
Except that there would be more, they would be become a city employee rather
right.
than, a contractual
Right.
employee.
I'm just saying like someone who would just kind of be more of like a liaison between the committee and the actual people here in the city.
Well, they're actually going to have tasks and jobs to do, so this
Yeah.
would be somebody who would work part-time on a regular basis.
Okay.
And do the work of the committee
Okay.
in terms of writing policies, looking into grants, those kinds of things.
They would become a city employee and essentially establish a Department of Economic Development.
Okay.
Now, that could be rolled into planning and zoning and building for all that matters, but at this point, I think the discussion was that it would become its own department.
Okay.
Ron, can you remind us how much money that would have to be transferred?
It's just the guy totally forgot that piece of paper. I think it was on right around 20 or under 20.
I think
It
so.
was, I think it was 19 and some change.
So that's what we would be moving from Community Development and Beautification Fund to the Economic Development Fund. I think, Stephen, you had your hand up first, and then Deputy Mayor Hedrick.
Yes, how many hours, I guess, on this part-time basis were we looking to?
19.
Yes.
19
It has-
hours?
It's
Oh,
prescribed
okay.
in order to not pay health benefits. So there's a prescription that's determined by the state, so yes.
And the 30,000 would be salary with the benefits,
With the
with the
benefits.
package? Okay,
Correct.
okay.
No benefits.
No
Yeah,
benefits?
with FICA
Well,
and-
FICA, yeah,
and
your Social
unemployment.
Security
There's
payment,
Right.
that kind of thing.
stuff.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor Hedrick.
Thank you. I support this because from the beginning, we talked about where we wanted to go and what we wanted to do with the CEDC and then now with the Economic Development Commission. And I think there's good use for the part-time person. I know that there are going to be people out there that say, well, the town has economic development people and things like that, why aren't we using them? And I think we still need to have our own economic development group here and focus on what's in the city because we're still working with the town. And it has not been 100% brought together where I'm comfortable enough to let the town take it over and say, here, we'll take care of all this. And this is one of the reasons that we came up with the Economic Development Commission we have now, so.
Well, and I think that if the town had someone who could assume this role, we would very seriously look at that. However,
Absolutely.
that question was asked of
Right.
John Reimer at a town council meeting. Do you have someone who could do part-time duties for the city? And the answer was no. They believe that they are understaffed as it is.
Absolutely.
But that was an assessment from their planning the head of planning.
Exactly, so they can't support it, and this needs to happen in order for us to get economic development within the city, which we need. Everybody needs it. This is, we're taking our steps so that we can do it. So I'm for the position.
Yes.
Sounds like the workload is there. Is there any measure of return on investment, or are there any goals for what it's seeking to achieve other than take care of a workload?
Once they're established, there should be, not only should there be a job description, but there should be a work plan. And there should be some kind of analysis, and there's a couple of good models out there that I'm very familiar with. One of them is the Main Street program, and there's a reporting mechanism by which you track the number of jobs created, the amount of businesses that are open, even the hours that volunteers spend. And then there's dollar figures standards that are applied to those, so that there's basically a report card that's given from the employee to the EDC, and then the EDC tracks it and gives it to the council. So I would strongly suggest that the EDC adopt that kind of mechanism.
Councilor Sheffield.
Will there be an annual evaluation of the employee that would fill this position?
I think you best ask.
Yes, there would be. Yep. Yes, Deputy Manager.
Thank you. This is an aside, but it's related. I think it would be good, we've kind of talked about this before, but have the EDC come to us and talk to us about what they're thinking and where they're looking to go, basically a presentation.
That would be a great idea.
I mean, I think that would be a great idea, would help provide a comfort level to the council that this is the right decision.
Yeah, and right now, it would be a good time over the next couple of months, because they've just finished a survey of businesses that came through the planning and zoning and building departments getting permits, and they used that list and went out and did a one-on-one kind of welcome to our community. How did you find the experience? What can we do to make it easier for you? And they'll have the results of that survey, and I think that would be interesting for the council to hear. Why did people come? What did they find when they got here? And what can we do better? Or what are we at 100% and can improve? Although that's rare. So I think that would be an excellent beginning and reason for them to meet with you guys.
Councilor Ilvento.
And yeah, I agree with what the deputy mayor said, just because if we don't necessarily, they haven't presented anything to us as a council since they began.
Well, they've presented this budget to us.
The budget, but I mean, they haven't presented their direction, what they wanted to do. So I think before we finalize this and say we want to hire someone to help you meet your goals, we should probably be clear that their goals are similar to our goals and the other people who may be involved. So I don't know what the rest of the council thinks, but.
Then this is my question to you, are you saying that you would like to delay allocating the money for the Economic Development Fund?
I think it would at very least be, I'm okay with creating the position because I think it is important, and from everything we've heard, it seems like they're heading in the right direction, but I think it would be nice for the chairperson or a couple of the members to come and just explain what direction they would like to go in.
So the question that's before you tonight is about the budget. It doesn't mean that instantly we hire somebody. So the question that you would be voting to put on the agenda for July 5th would be whether to transfer the $19,000 dollars from the Community Development and Beautification Fund to the Economic Development Commission. You would still, it's just like when you support a budget, even then when there's an item that comes to a certain amount of money, you still vote on it, even though it was in the budget.
Yeah, I'm fine. I just think, I'm fine with moving the money. I just think that before we pursue hiring someone, it'd be nice for the members of that committee to come and kind of let us know what's going on, so
Yeah,
maybe
and
we can work
They're
together.
not in any place to hire somebody. The job description hasn't been developed. They
Okay.
don't even know that you're going to approve the fund. So of course, I mean, the actual physical hiring of somebody, even just the advertising, is several months out.
Okay.
Do you need a motion?
We would need a motion to put this, a resolution transferring the funding from Community Development and Beautification Fund to the Economic Development Fund on the meeting of July 5th.
Okay. So moved.
Second.
Is there any additional conversation? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining. The next item on the agenda is the
Thank you,
Pequonnet.
Barbara.
Thank you very much, Barbara.
I'm sorry.
The next item on the agenda is the Pequonnet Road paving contract. Tim?
Appoint road out to bid this year. Normally going to a state contract because it's a lot more involved than just do the normal state contract. Fast Track paving came in $47,129 lower than the next one for Quantic Road. We did have that all through John Street too, but combined, even though it was lower, it was more money than what we had estimated. I had estimated for the job. So what I would like to do is to go with the low bid back at $179, $10.30. And when we're doing the other streets in the area with the same contract under the state bid, we're going to the state contract for that road for Johnson. The Quantic Road has 8 inches of concrete in it, a couple inches of asphalt been patched. It possibly has some trolley track left in it, and I think that raised the price because of the unknown. It was, like I said, Quantic was only roughly $1,000 over what we had estimated. But I think it was because of the unknown factor.
Now, that's the base bid, but when we bring a resolution to you, we also believe we're going to be bringing a resolution to you to add to that a 10% contingency of $17,901.03. Or I might kick in the 3. But anyway, so that we have a contingency for this because it is a difficult project. It is more difficult than usual. We have requested of the town the opportunity to use either additional road bond funds if that contingency becomes necessary, or to use leftover CIP funds. And they are going to talk about that tomorrow night at their meeting. But so that when this becomes a resolution that comes to the council, there will be an additional amount of money for a contingency.
I just think one thing to add, Fast Track Paving is the company that we normally use for doing the paving. That happened to be the low bid. And I think we've had very good luck with them in the past.
Questions for Tim? Yes, Councilor Lento.
No, Tim, this would be, they would start down on Thames Street, come up the hill and go all the way down to
To the 5 corners.
yeah, okay,
Yep, the next part is another paving project.
okay. So, all right, so this would be up Thames Street, up the hill to 5 corners, and then the rest of Pequontic is another,
Right,
Okay.
Any other questions for Tim? Seeing none, we need a motion to put this on the agenda for July 5th.
so moved.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining. Thank you very much, Tim. The next item on the agenda is the Eastern Point Beach bus limit. Mary?
So we got a request into the office, from the town Parks and Recreation Department to bring in a bus, their playground program to our beach on the 22nd of July, I believe it is. But they're requesting 5 to 6 buses, 4 to 5 buses to come in with their kids. They're just gonna do one day where they come, they used to come like 3 times, visit different sites. The interpretation of the Beach and Parks Committee of the Rules and Regulations, which is on page 2, letter F, is that they've always interpreted the bus trip limited to 3 buses per day. So we would be, I guess if we allowed the town to come with 4 to 5 buses, we'd be going over the 3 bus limit. But it's also, go ahead. Nope.
Sorry. Well, it says bus trips are limited to more than 3 per day.
Right.
Does that mean 3 trips per bus or 3 buses? I mean, you could get wrapped around the
It's
action.
always meant 3 buses.
That's-
It's always meant 3 buses, because if you think about it, a bus has 40 to 50 kids on it.
Absolutely.
So if you bring 3 buses, then that's potentially a large amount of kids on the beach at one time. But again, how it's written can be interpreted different ways. So, yes, I can see what's going on over there.
My concern is less about the buses and more about the number of children that you're going to suddenly have on the beach. Do we have enough lifeguards to safely have a potential of 250 kids in addition to a regular beach population?
We would schedule that to happen. We do that on Thursdays presently. Right now, all 10 of our lifeguards work because we bring over almost 300 kids from our
Okay.
program down to the beach, plus the load of the patrons that just everyday patrons that come. We designate our areas, the far beach area by the basketball courts, and we limit our kids to that area. And we actually cone it off, they know that other patrons know where our kids are going to be. And we'll probably make those distinctions with the town to do that for them.
So there's an additional cost associated with this? That was a very good question.
There is, because we bring more lifeguards in, but we also charge them per bus.
Okay.
There's a $100 charge per bus.
Okay.
And does that even out for how much you have to pay the lifeguards?
I haven't done that math yet, but in the past, it hasn't been an issue when they've brought their buses in before. But they've only, like I said, they've come in on 3 different occasions. SB Butler used to come one day, William Seeley one week, and then Claude Chester, I think, was the other site that they had, came another, and so they'd only have 2 buses then. So it sounds like they're just making one trip. We have 8 guards on duty most days anyway, so it'd just be additional 2 lifeguards at, let's see, $48 and change times 2, so it'd be an extra $100 for the extra lifeguards.
You said July 22nd?
It's that Friday, yeah, July 21 and 22nd.
See,
It's
my
Friday.
concern becomes, I was thinking, what day of the week is it?
It's a Friday.
Which concerns me because Friday tends to be a day when it's a little busier because people take off work or whatever. So I'm just concerned about the number of kids that might be there and the safety aspect of it. Was there any discussion about them splitting it? Is there any reason they couldn't do 2 days? And take 3,
I didn't discuss that with them. I was more concerned with the number of buses when it first came through. I can go back to them and find out if they want to split. I think what they're trying to do is kind of what we've done. The bus costs are expensive. We've actually gone away from busing our kids down to the beach on playground. We actually meet there that day. So I'm thinking they're trying to get it all done in one shot instead of 2, 2, and 2, it's like maybe 4 to 5 all in one shot and come down for one day only.
Well, the reality of it is, just because you say 6 buses, you could have one bus with 50 kids and another bus with 10 kids. It's there's so much unknown about what it could be. It doesn't mean every bus is going to be filled, or that if they would even have, they could end up with 4 buses. There's
Right. It said 4 to 5, but even 4 is over the limit of 3. But it's kind of nice to neighborly to do.
No, that's I agree with you, and I think that when you think about 6 buses, you think of, I know, like each bus holds about 55 kids. You think about that number, 50. That probably is not going to happen. So, I don't really have a problem saying.
It's 4 to 5 buses, right?
4 to 5. Yep.
So, like I said, it could be a bus comes in with 10 kids on it. It's not gonna. There's no.
I guess
Councilor Rusk?
my bottom line is, Mary, do you think you can handle this load of people?
Yes.
Okay.
My concern was how it's written in the rules. If we do it now, if we get another request during the course of the time, or do we just look at this when we look at the rules and regulations and see if it's something we need to address from the Beach and Parks Committee standpoint? I just, you know, there's the, you know, it's a resolution, it's rules and regulations that have been printed. If somebody questions it, saying, oh, wait, I thought it was 3 buses, I saw 7 come in, well, maybe not, it was maybe 5. It may look like 7 because there's when buses come down to the beach, they seem to in people's eyes, they seem to multiply.
Yes, Deputy Mayor Hedrick.
Can we not, agree, make a decision on this, and the decision not be precedent setting, and then if it comes up again, then we look at it again. Each event is a separate and distinct event, so that one time we may say yes, and one time we may say no, and the rationale could be the same or it could be different.
And that's why we wanted to bring it to you.
And we've done it before. We've had this issue in the past when the beach opened before school got out, and we had buses wanting to come in for school field trips, and it was after the beach opened, so technically we should have been charging them, but we waived the fee.
Right.
Because it came here.
So, yes, I'm sorry. Counselor Sheffield and then Counselor Heed?
It's okay.
Okay. So you asked for, let's say, a special resolution for this particular day, and maybe, let's say, for bad weather, a rain date, also to, for the modification of the buses. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with that, sure.
Counselor Heed?
I would just say I would also be concerned about the safety, so as long as you're able to handle that, that's okay. But my question would be, other than the town, what other organizations are like this Groton town we're making an exception for it? Like all the neighboring towns or anything?
Well,
else?
you have that potential of other neighboring towns.
To come in, yes. We've
Okay,
had
so then-
buses as far as East Long Meadow, Massachusetts come down and use our beach. I mean, just one, but they were in the Rhode Island area for a morning event, and there was somebody up there who had worked in this area in the past and knew about the beach and thought it would be a nice venue for the kids in the afternoon, but she only brought 2 buses, so it didn't affect us saying yes or no because they were within that 3 bus limit. So yeah, we do get quite a few requests for people to come in, but we haven't, I mean, it's one of those things we could address again if it came up.
Yes.
And also, just to be mindful, people may not know, but the buses do not stay. So it's not like there's always been concern in the past, oh, the buses take up spots. They don't. They drop the kids off, they go, and then maybe 15 minutes before it's time to go, they come back in and get the kids. So it's not a concern of the parking spaces being taken up.
It's just a busy day when there's, you take into account there's 250 plus children in addition to the patrons who are there with their families and their children at the beach.
Is there any value in asking them to look at a different day? One that Councilor Bento pointed out that Fridays are a day that a lot of people take off and go to the beach, that it's a heavily packed day anyway. Would there be any value in looking at a Tuesday or a Wednesday? I know we're down there Thursday.
Right. Well, we have a bus trip. We have 2 buses down there already on a Tuesday. I'd have to look at a Monday. I'm not sure if they like to do field trips on a Monday, but I mean, it's kind of hard to gauge too, because like if it's an overcast day on a Friday, it's not going to be busy. Today, the beach wasn't busy because even as nice as it was windy down there. So there's a lot of people who don't show up. So that's kind of like a catch-22. You could say it's busy, and it could be, but then there could be a day where it's gray and overcast, and they'll still bring their bus because it's not technically raining, and they have, so it's one of those things. But I think it's workable. It's definitely workable. We do it every Thursday, so we wouldn't have a problem. We make sure that they just follow the rules that we implement for them to be down there.
Any other discussion? Then we would need a motion to move this to the agenda of the July 5th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. Thank you very much, Mary. Next item on the agenda is to amend the purchase order for advanced metering project.
To lay a little context, the water company has been upgrading water meters for several reasons. Number one, the old meters are actually old, and at the end of their life need to be upgraded. Number two, the old meters tend to have a little bit of lead in them, and current regulations require that they get upgraded. And third, it also allows the meters to be read by drive-by car, so it lessens work. So there's an effort to change all of these. Last year, there was a non-bonded capital project
It was approved for $360,000. A purchase order was cut for $320,000 to Thai Sales, which is the local vendor that provides these. They have a territory for the service area, so we buy all the meters through them. The plan was to spend $320,000 on the physical meters, and then there was an extra $20,000 that was part of the project that wasn't put into this purchase order because they were planned to buy part of the electronics from another vendor. In the end, Thai Sales ended up being able to provide that electronic parts to the meter. So we're at the end of the purchase order and ran over by $11,000. So as this project closes out with the end of this month, we wanted to adjust the purchase order up to cover the overage and then close the purchase order, close the project. And then actually the next discussion item is the next phase of the project.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we need a motion to move this resolution to the agenda for July 5.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining. Next item, Ron?
In this year, in the bond funds that were approved earlier this year, or last year, however you look at it, there's a $2 million project to upgrade meters. And we want to issue the first purchase order to Thai Sales to allow us to start purchasing those meters. And that's what this was. I actually didn't think it was. I think that's what it was.
Yep, that's what it is.
Okay.
Any questions? Seeing none, we need a motion to move this to the agenda for the July 5 meeting.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Picked up.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Thank you very much. And the last item on our agenda is to appoint a member of the City Council to the Community Service Awards Selection Committee. So each year, we select a member of the Greater Groton Utility Service Area community who receives an award for the work, the volunteer work they do. So the nominations close July 1. And so we need a member of the council to serve on that. Usually it meets during the day.
That's right. I did it last time.
But
Because I did it and you covered for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
so usually it does meet during the day.
Do we know when?
I do not know that.
We were able to get it done in one meeting
Yes.
this last time.
Usually been in the early afternoon.
No, I mean
1 or
like
2 o'clock.
No,
Date-
no, I
dates.
think he means a date. I don't have a date. Do you, have you heard of any dates, Ron?
I'd be happy to do it, but I work full-time.
I can volunteer to do it. It's just a matter of if the date is wrong. If I happen, there's a couple dates I might not be here. So
So how about if we appoint Andy and you can be the backup?
Yep, we'll do just what we did last.
should be
We'll do what
fine.
we did last time, and if it ends up being during your time away, let me know and I'll cover.
So we would need a motion to put this on the agenda for the July 5 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining. We have no executive session, which means that we can take a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I think so. Okay, thank you, everyone.
July 4th is fine.
July 4th is a Monday.
So, do we all know when we're, so we've ordered T-shirts for the parade. Is everybody marching?
I will not be there.
Well, you're not getting a T-shirt then. No.
Wow, she's spunky.
So, you're going? You're going?
Yes.
You're going?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going, you're going, and we'll check with Larry. Deb, you're going?
Yes.
Okay, don't forget to bring a bag with handles.
Oh,
Ron
and
can
don't,
fill in for
and don't
Conrad.
forget, we're we're assembling or getting together meeting at a new location.
At the utilities plant,
At
or
the
at the
utility-
water.
At the utilities plant,
Like at the-
same
like
place
during
we
the
go for
Christmas.
the holiday festivals.
Right.
I have something that's gonna go out with.
Okay.
Okay,
And,
And Andy's going to deliver your T-shirts to you.
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
How great is that?
are you going to?
Not
like,
yours.
Deliver them to their doors?
Yeah, well, I will, because
Well-
because they might not be ready till Friday, so.
Good, because maybe you can deliver some candy if I go and buy it all.
Yeah, that's a good
Or just
idea.
you gave it to me last year, so I can just take some
Okay.
too, like we did.
Awesome.
You can give me mine,
Put it in the
then we
fridge,
Okay.
go deliver to
so it
some.
doesn't melt in the car.
Oh, that's the next day, never mind.
That's the day after, that won't do.
There's, I got another message, there's still no water fountains at the park. So,
At Washington Park?
Okay, so you should have brought that up
I
with
know,
Mary, but
I
I will
wasn't thinking
bring
about it
up.
until right now, but I'll send you an
Okay.
email.